food truck and make Hello Kitty art. Oh, and buy Hello Kitty paraphernalia.
We are doing 5 to 20 times the normal admissions that we do.
The Japanese American National Museum is also running a Hello Kitty exhibit. Up front and center, the tiny 1975 knickknack that started the $8 billion a year phenomenon, the first Hello Kitty coin purse.
We've had people from Ireland, Italy, who've specifically made vacation plans that would coincide with the exhibit and with the convention.
Local shops and cafes also doing brisk business, some doing promotions like the Hungry Hunt, which offers a Hello Kitty pin. Cafe Dulce goes the extra mile, offering donuts and a Hello Kitty latte. Hello Kitty has now gone global, taking over fashion, the news, even the stock market. It seems the kittenish face just might achieve the unthinkable, world domination. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
While the Hello Kitty convention only lasted 4 days, the exhibit at the Japanese American National Museum will open to ticket holders through April. The city's Department of Cultural Affairs is a sponsor. A public-private partnership is helping provide more than 200 underprivileged Los Angeles school children with the opportunity to learn to play a musical instrument. Rasha Goel explains.
This music presentation by the Esperanza Azteca Youth Orchestra of Juarez, Mexico, was a preview of what is in store for the young students at Florence Nightingale Middle School here in Los Angeles.
Just the sound of their music gave me the chills, and that inspired me to join.
Through the Esperanza Azteca program, which began in Latin America, students in Los Angeles will now have the opportunity to learn to play a musical instrument this school year. The Esperanza Azteca Youth Orchestra program will begin its first year at Florence Nightingale Middle School through an after-school program, with plans to expand to other schools in the district.
I really believe you cannot put a monetary value on the change that's going to impact these children here in this community.
Every human being should be able to realize their God-given potential, to be creative, to connect, and to inspire.
The program will help provide funding for 15 music teachers, including a conductor, who will work with students and teach them the basics of reading music and playing instruments. And today is even more special, as LA kids receive instruments from the Esperanza Azteca Youth Orchestra from Juarez, Mexico.
It has get high my self-esteem. It has makes me more responsible, and I've learned how to work in team.
The Esperanza Azteca Youth Orchestra program was first launched in Latin America in 2009 and now includes 70 orchestras and choirs throughout Mexico and El Salvador. Ricardo Salinas, who helped launch the program, says it has already made an impact on children, and he's excited to bring the program to Los Angeles.
Music is about teamwork, about personal excellence, about commitment to show up on time, play in tune, and on time. It's a dream of mine, but it's a dream of everyone that lives in this community, that there would be the civility that culture brings to a community.
And perhaps that dream is coming true as two groups unite through the sound of music. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The orchestra's first concert will be held in the spring of 2015. It's a trip down memory lane. A piece of Los Angeles history has been revived as the original Lankershim train depot roars back to life. Here's Yana Kay.
Diane McCreary gets emotional as she looks around the newly refurbished Lankershim train station. Her husband, the late Guy Wellington McCreary's great-grandfather, helped bring the original wood-frame station to the San Fernando Valley location in the late 1800s. Guy spent the last few years of his life making sure that it would be saved, and now it will be.
I like to see a community save all of their treasures, because once they're gone, they're gone.
Thanks to Metro, this historic gem, which stopped operations in the 1950s, will continue to shine as a historical monument after receiving a $3.6 million exterior restoration.
Metro's goal is to improve the way people move to their homes, to where they shop, to where they work and play. So, and part of that is restoring the depot today.
Approximately 70% of the original wooden structure has been refurbished, including a new foundation, roof, platforms, and seismic upgrades.
The historical buildings deserve to be preserved.
The newly refurbished station, which used to transport freight, goods, and passengers in the 1800s, also received a fresh coat of paint in its original mustard yellow and brown colors.
The significance of this place is really that it connects our history with our future, because this depot allowed the blossoming of the San Fernando Valley.
Now that the historic Lankershim depot has been restored, the next step is to find a commercial tenant, like a museum or a coffee shop, that will occupy the space. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Other metro transportation improvements are also planned for the area. Federal arson experts complete their on-scene investigation into the Venice storage fire. The city recognizes the importance of mentoring for students with disabilities, and Norman Lloyd Day in the city of LA. These stories in City Beat. The October 25th fire at Extra Space Storage in Venice has been ruled undetermined. The Los Angeles Fire Department's Arson Counterterrorism Section had called upon the Federal Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives Agency, or ATF, to investigate the fire at the two-story, 81,000-square-foot storage facility. And while the scene examination has been completed, investigators say they will continue to conduct interviews, forensic examinations of collected evidence, and follow-ups of additional leads as they develop. City leaders recently recognized Disability Mentoring Day for helping to foster relationships between employers and potential future employees.
New generations of young people with disabilities and growing up in Los Angeles, graduating from high school, going to college, and preparing to participate in the workplace. And programs like this emphasize our dedication as a city to this very important community.
And award recipient Olivia Mitchell received a big honor and a big surprise.
The very first ever Distinguished Mentor Award that will now be named in your name from here on forward.
Mitchell, who is currently with the city's Housing and Community Investment Department, was honored for her work with youth with disabilities throughout her years as a city employee. City leaders joined Councilmember Paul Koretz to declare November 8th Norman Lloyd Day in the city of Los Angeles. The day also happens to be the actor's 100th birthday. If you don't know Lloyd by name, you may know him from this scene from Hitchcock's Spellbound. He's the one holding on for dear life near the top of the Statue of Liberty.
But time goes on, and you get to be 100, and you get to be honored. And I thank you all for your generosity. Thank you.
Norman Lloyd has had and is continuing to have an extraordinary career as a producer, director, writer, and actor. Bohemian book lovers flocked to North Hollywood for a memorable night of spoken word. Anna Marcos reports on Lit Crawl.
Our tale begins on busy Magnolia Boulevard. Where this goes, nobody knows till we turn the page, go around the corner and enter up to 30 cafes, bars, and restaurants for a night of storytelling.
This is the biggest cultural event I have ever been to in the Southern California area.
This is Lit Crawl, a celebration of the spoken word featuring 170 local authors reading samples of their works at various venues in the NoHo Arts District. There's the horror comedy styling of Jeff Ayers in one club, tales of LA living from writer Keenan Norris at another venue, the poetry of Susan Hayden up the street, and they're all within walking distance of each other.
And celebrate the really hardworking authors, because just like actors in LA, we get authors that are really, really trying to make it. And there are resources for them, but they need people like us to support them.
Lit Crawl attempts to recreate classic spoken word haunts like New York's Greenwich Village and North Beach in San Francisco, but in the Valley.
I get the feeling they don't think this is really an LA kind of thing, and then you have this kind of event and everybody shows up and walks the streets. We love this kind of thing. This is fantastic.
A wonderful way for people from outside of this area to come and enjoy all that NoHo has to offer, and for the people here in North Hollywood to come out and get to know each other and get to enjoy the great venues that we have here in this neighborhood, and lots of really terrific artists.
Everyone has a story. Get out your pens and start writing.
As we close the book on another successful event. From Lit Crawl in the NoHo Arts District, I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
This marked the second annual Lit Crawl. Over 2,000 people came out, the biggest turnout yet. In this week's list of things to do, a tribute to Dennis Hopper, an edge-of-your-seat drama, and a meeting for students interested in volunteering at the LA Zoo. Dennis Hopper was recognized during his lifetime for his work as an actor and director, but his interest went beyond cinema into other realms of art, especially photography. The USC School of Cinematic Arts will present a tribute to Dennis Hopper, including a series of screenings, conversations, and an exhibition of Hopper's photographs. The closing night event of the tribute takes place on Friday, November 14th from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Eileen Norris Cinema Theater at the Frank Sinatra Hall, University Park campus downtown, located at 850 West 34th Street. The event will feature a screening of Hopper's 1971 film, The Last Movie, followed by a discussion with Hopper's friends, family, and colleagues. Call 213-740-0483 for details. Marsha Norman's Pulitzer Prize-winning Night Mother starts with a supposedly normal evening in the mother-daughter Kate's household and spirals out of control when 40-something Jessie announces to Mama that she plans to kill herself before the night is over. Over the course of 90 minutes in real time, Thelma desperately works to convince her daughter that life is worth living. Eloquent and darkly humorous, Night Mother has been hailed as an American classic and one of the most powerful contemporary dramas ever written. Catch a showing at the Lost Studio located at 130 South La Brea Avenue on Saturday, November 15th, 8 to 10 p.m. For ticket prices and other information, call 818-826-3609. If you are about to enter the 10th grade in the fall or know somebody who is also interested in volunteering at the LA Zoo, you won't want to miss this informational meeting on Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the zoo located at 5333 Zoo Drive. This informational meeting with interviews is mandatory for prospective students who want to apply for the 13-week course, which meets on Sundays from January to March, to learn about conservation and ecology issues and taxonomy, or the classification of plants and animals. Applicants under 18 years of age must be accompanied by a parent. Go to lazoo.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. And for our This Week in Tweets segment, we have one other suggestion for things to do in LA. The mayor's office also took to Twitter in search of innovators. First, at Discover LA, that's the official account of the LA Tourism and Convention Board, tweeted, "Sample your favorites from 150-plus Pinot Noir blends from all over the world at Skirball LA's Pinot Days event, November 15th. A link to the flyer shows more information, like the fact that you'll be able to sample Pinots from the Russian River Valley to the Santa Rita Hills, Oregon to the Anderson Valley, Burgundy to New Zealand to the Sonoma coast." Also in This Week in Tweets, various city leaders tweeted about the mayor's $1 million innovation fund. Think of it as a Kickstarter site for city employees. At LA Mayor's Office tweeted, "We're proud to announce the new innovation fund at the Hub LA, which rewards ideas that have the potential to reinvent how LA does business. It's open to City of Los Angeles employees and commissioners only." We'll have a full story next week on the mayor's $1 million innovation fund and how you can apply to test out your idea. And finally, finding LA even as you live in LA. That's the idea behind the Found LA Festival of Neighborhoods, which encourages Angelenos to venture out to strange and exciting places just a short walk or car ride away. Rasha Goel takes us to this year's Festival of Neighborhoods.
For today, Suzanne Simmons is a tour guide. She is taking other Angelenos around Hyde Park and sharing the treasures of her neighborhood.
I've lived here almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years next year.
Simmons is one of the local tour guides participating in the Found LA Festival of Neighborhoods, a free day-long event celebrating the people and places of Los Angeles.
Go to neighborhoods you just would never normally go to and learn from local people who live in that neighborhood what's going on in that neighborhood.
This year, the nonprofit group LA Commons hosted the 4th annual Found LA Festival of Neighborhoods. It was the first one based on Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti's Great Streets program, a program that's implemented in each of the 15 council districts.
We've got this tour today going on in Hyde Park, which is connected to the Great Street that's between 78th and Florence.
The mayor's Great Streets program aims to improve neighborhood gathering places and generate economic activity by revitalizing key community corridors such as this one in Northridge. Reseda Boulevard and Olvera Street were just some of the other places Angelenos could explore through the festival.
We have this fantastic city and so many people just stay in their own neighborhood, but there's an opportunity to explore and find, this wonderful richness that exists all around the city.
And the only thing required is getting out of your car. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
This year, Angelenos had the opportunity to explore the celebrated Central Avenue, sample tacos along iconic Cesar Chavez, stroll the backyard of Cal State Northridge along Reseda Boulevard, and get to know Gaffey Street, the historic gateway to LA's harbor. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We leave you now with more Hello Kitty Frenzy. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
That escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. Get Fire Adapted now. Learn simple steps at fireadapted.org.
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Open wide.
Good morning. Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the Los Angeles City Council. Today's date is Wednesday, November 12th. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. You are all welcome. Mr. Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonabusco, Cedillo, Winkler, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Correa, Labange, Martinez, Ferrell, Parks, Price, Weston, 10 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Huizar moves, Bonin seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Blumenfield moves, Price seconds.
Mr. President, before getting into today's agenda, there's a recommendation to continue items 1C and I to November 26th.
Without objection.
And to receive and file 1G inasmuch as the lien has been paid.
Without objection on that item as well.
There's also been a request to continue item 12 to December 10 and item 26 to November 25th.
I see no problem in that, so without objection, that'll be the order.
Very good, sir. Items 1 through 12 are items noticed for public hearing.
Do we have cards?
We have cards on the remainders of item 1 as well as item 11, sir.
Okay, so we can move on. We can move on and vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Let's move on the next section of items.
Very good, sir. And those ordinances will be continued 1 week for a second read unless reconsidered later today with 12.
Okay.
The next section is items 13 through 29. They're items for which public hearings have been held. Items 14, 18, 25, and 29. Committee reports are in and have been circulated for those items.
Okay, so on items 13 and 14, I think we should call those special.
Yeah.
And I'll look to the members for other.
13, special.
13 for, well, we've got that, Mr. Labange, 13 and 14. Any other specials, members? I do not see any. Mr. Labange gets in under the wire with item 25. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll. Oh, wait, item 27? We'll hold that as well. Let's again vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, why don't we, I'll be right with you, Mr. Labange. Why don't we go back to the ordinances that we can vote on at this point? We do have 12 members.
Very good, sir. Those would be items 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, so let's vote for reconsideration on those items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now let's actually vote on those items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Labange.
Yeah, I just wanted to, on 26, is anybody from staff here on 26? I'm a junior deputy to Mr. Huizar and helping on the 6th Street Bridge. Is anybody here on the 6th Street Bridge?
Mr. Labange, I believe that item's been continued until December, did you say? November 25th. Okay, let's, Mr. Parks?
If I could get 31 reconsidered, just ask some questions of staff.
I don't think we've gotten to
I'm sorry.
31
I'm
as
sorry.
of yet.
24, I'm sorry. 24.
Okay, let's vote on reconsideration on item 24. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, we'll set that item aside. Ms. Martinez?
I want to ask that item 15 be forthwith.
All items are going to be forthwith. Okay, so let's move on, Mr. Clerk, to where are we?
Mr. President, that would bring us to items 30 through 48. They're items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
So you said 30 through 48?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Without objection, those items are now before this body. Mr. Englander.
Item 37, if you can hold it, we've got a
Yes.
amendment coming in.
Okay, we'll hold item 37 before Mr. Englander. We have an amendment en route. And Mr. Parks?
Yeah, if we can hold 31 with 24, and I can get all the questions answered.
Let's hold 31 too.
Yeah, 31 and 24.
Yeah, we've already got 24. We voted on reconsideration. We didn't act. So we'll hold 31 and combine them, I guess. Okay, Mr. Price.
Hold item 35.
35
President Elsa.
for Mr. Price. What about cards?
Mr. President, we do have cards on items 31, 42, 43, and 45.
Okay, we should hold those items. And let's vote on the remaining items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That takes us where?
Mr. President, that brings us to items 49 and 50. They're items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
At this point, I think that we should hold those items, and I'll have a brief chat with Mr. Krikorian, and he'll give me direction on what he wants to do.
Direction on 50, Mr. Chairman.
And what?
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr.
Item 50 we need to talk about. So,
We've
okay.
got that one. All of that is being held. That brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings council back to presentations or items called special.
Okay. Okay, as we are preparing for our today's presentations, Mr. Clerk and members, why don't we take up item 14, which is a commission appointment. Okay, so if I could ask Anna to come, our commissioner, to come forward. Members, it's my pleasure to present to you today Anna Dahan, who is up to be appointed to our very important Ethics Commission. We had a very good conversation with her this morning in committee. And I bring this item before you today requesting in advance a unanimous decision. Very impressive, with great credentials, and the individual that would be the final appointment or appointee to our Ethics Commission, so we would be operating from here on out at full speed. So what I'd like to do is I would like to give you an opportunity to talk about yourself and your qualifications. But also, before we do that, I want to acknowledge your family. So if you could introduce, why don't family and friends, if you could rise just for a moment. And then maybe you can kind of, other than Steve, you can run through all of your good friends and family that are here.
Okay.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to stand to thank all of my family and friends for being here. I wouldn't be here without any of you.
Stay in the mic, just pick it up.
I wouldn't be here with any of you. A mis abuelos, muchas gracias por estar aquí. Los quiero mucho. And I just have to say that my grandfather, when I was born, he retired at 60, and he said he was planning to go back to Mexico, but I was born and he stayed.
Wonderful.
And so all the service we do for this great city is in his honor, and for my grandmothers who were a great role model, and my parents. So any ethics I bring, I got from them.
All right, let's give them a round of applause. They raised you right. And also, just so I can show off a bit, could you talk about the addition to your family that occurred yesterday?
My sister's not here because yesterday we had our first grandchild and great-grandchild born into the family on the same day as our council president's birthday. Noah Antonio Paulino, he's very excited, and one day I will bring him to council so that he can meet all of you. So thank you.
I look forward to that. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. So my background has primarily been in education. I've worked at the Los Angeles Unified School District at every level as a staff member for a school board member, as well as Superintendent Ramon Cortinez. I also had the honor of running for office myself for LAUSD School Board in 2006, and so I hope to bring to this Ethics Commission a practical understanding of the election process. I'm also very involved, or have been very involved in various campaigns. I'm proud to be an engaged civic voter, and I look forward to bringing that experience to the council to make sure that we have practical rules that continue to inspire people to love this city and be proud of this city, which is what I am.
Thank you. And before I call on a couple of members, I'd like to at least introduce Commissioner Levinson, who was here. I think I see her in the purple in the back, who at committee this morning indicated that Anna was a former student of hers and how excited she is to actually have the opportunity to serve on a commission with you. Now, with that said, I'd like to defer to Mr. Huizar.
Thank you. And Mr. President, if I could correct you, her professor said she's a former STAR student. So but I'm really just pleased that this nomination came before us. Anna and her family were some of the members who worked with the school board to deliver some much needed schools in the downtown Pico Union area when we had some of the most overcrowded schools in the country. And that Belmont Learning Complex that was unfinished for many decades, the local community never gave up, and now we have a great Roy Ball Learning Center that it has relieved Belmont High School, your alma mater, and has provided many young people with a lot of with opportunities. So I'm very pleased that this nomination became before us. Committed family, committed to making the city better, and when we were on the Board of Education, it was not only Anna there, but it was a whole family supporting the issues before us, and your mom was also very critical to us moving forward on that. So thank you so much. And I just wanted to mention that your experience in working our campaigns will be so critical to make sure that as you're making these rules that you've had that experience and provide that knowledge so that we can move forward to create fair rules for everyone that is campaigning. Fair rules as we move forward. And right now we have an active commission, and we're, thanks to the work of the council president as well, looking at how we could better turn out voters and other items like that. So it's a great time for this commission, and thank you for your willingness to serve on this commission.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, I think we're having a fabulous day. We have two great former LAUSD employees, Wendy Macy, who's going to be coming up right after Ms. DeHaan. But I can't say enough great things of Ms. DeHaan. I had the pleasure of meeting her when I served on the LAUSD school board. She was working for now Superintendent Ray Cortinez, and she was leading the charge in making sure that the district was looking at education a little bit different, that we were giving children an opportunity to actually transform their lives where they lived and give public education a fair shot. And it was thanks to your work that we began to work together, and I've seen her transform into this amazing leader in this city. Her parents, both LAUSD teachers and administrators, have done a fabulous job raising their family here in Echo Park. Her husband, Moti, who I also happen to know, a great business owner here in downtown. Thank you so much for giving of yourself again. I know you're not done with law school. This is your last year of law school at Loyola. law school, and you're going to continue to do great things. And I want to commend to your embassy family that's here as well. Thank you for being here. Anna, you're going to do great. I can't wait to see you on the commission. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just real briefly, I'll echo what Jose and Nuri have said. Anna and her family from Echo Park, you were raised there. It's a community that I'm so proud to represent, and I always want to do right by you and your family, by the way. You have a goodness of spirit and an honesty and an integrity that is going to serve this commission very well. So thank you for stepping up and bringing your talents to bear. You have always and will continue to serve this city extremely well. And my greetings to Moti as well. Good friends. Take care. Thank you.
Okay. So again, I just want to say thank your family and to reinforce to you that this is a very active and very critical commission. And before the mayor or any of us select people to sit on this commission, we really studied long and hard because we are requiring a lot of you. So it shows that a lot of people have a lot of respect for you and your abilities. With that said, Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Mr. Englander. Mr. Englander.
Thank you, Mr. President. And item 37 has been circulated. If we can go ahead and take that up.
So let's just take up item 37 at this time. Let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
And, Mr. President, that's adopted as amended by 37A.
Yes, Mr. Englander.
If we can ask urgent forthwith on that one.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Without objection. Item 18 also, Mr. Clerk, should go urgent forthwith. Without objection. Mr. Krikorian, would you be ready? Okay, then the floor is yours. If I can direct everyone's attention to Mr. Paul Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, it's always such an honor for all of us to be in the presence of so many men and women who've served our country in the armed forces. And on today, the day after Veterans Day, I'd like everyone in this chamber who has served our country, every veteran, to please stand and be recognized.
Thank you. Thank you all so very much. Thank you.
Yesterday, throughout these United States, in bustling cities and in quiet towns, Americans gathered, as we do here, to honor the men and women who disrupted their own lives and too often sacrificed their own lives in service to our country so that all Americans might live in freedom. There's an irony in the fact that we celebrate Veterans Day on the day of the armistice of World War I. That was the day when the guns finally fell silent after those many years of that terrible war, the war that was known at the time as the war that would end all wars. And had it been so, perhaps we wouldn't have needed to count on future generations of noble American men and women to step forward and serve. But of course we know that that moment of global peace wouldn't last for very long, and each generation of Americans that followed would be called upon. And in vast numbers, they've responded to that call. Grocers and mail carriers and nurses and teachers who've been asked by their country to rise to the occasion, and they did. These were not action heroes in movies or mythical gladiators from legendary tales. They were ordinary Americans who, to a person, would have preferred to stay home with their families and their friends, but instead they stepped up to serve a greater cause. If you've ever been to the landing beaches at Normandy, you can understand why volumes have been written about the D-Day invasions in terms of its vastness. You gaze out at this endless sea and you imagine it covered with ships and landing crafts that made up the largest amphibious assault in history. You see these beaches stretching into the distance and you can envision them covered with these massive waves of men, 150,000 in all, desperately scrambling forward into enemy fire. And you see the U.S. cemetery with row after row after row of white crosses and stars of Davids and other graves that seem to extend to the horizon. And when we see things like that in popular culture or in person, you can easily lose sight of the fact that even world-changing events of that kind of a magnitude really come down to individual people, individuals who make that individual choice to overcome their own terror and do the unnatural thing of putting their own lives in grave danger. And in doing so, those people, just as the men and women who are here today, gained their place in the long and strong chain of sacrifice that connects one generation of ordinary American heroes to the next. It's a chain that began when the farmers of Concord put aside their pitchforks and picked up their muskets and forced the King's troops to retreat at the North Bridge. It's a chain that continues to this day as the volunteers of our military bravely endure the nearly unimaginable chaos and violence of places like Iraq and Afghanistan. And let's remember that fully a third of those who are now serving in those theaters are members of the National Guard who, have tried to continue to live their normal life, but they've been called up to service as our regular forces have. Over the course of our history, the world has certainly changed, and our armed forces have changed with it. But the valor, the dignity, and the courage of the men and women in uniform remain the same. Each of them in each generation has left a legacy of freedom, and they taught their children and their children's children the value of sacrifice and devotion and service, and most of all, love of country. The citizen soldiers who are here with us today, the honorees of each of our 15 council districts, have become our teachers. Throughout their service, they remind us of the extraordinary potential of ordinary Americans. They remind us of the principles for which our country stands, and they remind us of the courage and commitment necessary to maintain those principles. They remind us of both the blessings we enjoy and the cost we must bear as citizens of the last best hope of this earth. We are in debt to all of them, and we thank them. May God bless all who have served, bless the souls of those who have departed, and always bless the country for which they sacrificed. Thank you, one and all, to our honorees, the Veterans of the Year for the City of Los Angeles. Now, members, each of the veterans has already received a certificate of recognition out in the rotunda, but I'm going to introduce each of them individually and then ask that as we introduce them, if they could please rise. And you've seen on the video screens some of the photographs of these men and women in uniform. And I'm going to try to, I don't know if we can keep that roll going as I read their names, but let's see.
But before you start, Mr. Krikorian, thank you. Thank you very much. This is a very special recognition and to do the day after Veterans Day. So thank you for being so sensitive and handling this for the city of Los Angeles. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
All right.
But you're that kind of guy.
But let's, so our Veterans of the Year for Council District 1, represented by Gil Cedillo, Roy Payan of the United States Navy. Roy, if you can stand. Roy Payan served in the Navy for 12 years, retiring with the rank of Chief. Dedicated to serving his country, he continues to serve his community as president of the Montecito Heights Neighborhood Association, a representative on the Arroyo Seco Neighborhood Council, and as a CERT captain. Roy Payan of the United States Navy. Representing Council District 2, my district, Lee Adrian of the United States Air Force.
Give him a round of applause.
Lee Adrian grew up in North Dakota and enlisted in the Air Force in 1966. He served on Okinawa from 1969 to 1974 when he was honorably discharged during the Vietnam era. Beyond his service in the Air Force, he's continued to impact and improve our community as a member of the Strathern Neighborhood Watch Group, as a volunteer and an active member in a church. He's been very helpful in a lot of the community beautification projects we're working on in Council District 2, and he recently took a trip to Alaska to help build homes for families in Anchorage with Habitat for Humanity, and he's planning another trip for next year. Lee Adrian.
Thank you. Good. Thank you.
Representing Council District 3, Mr. Blumenfield's honoree, Stephen Polidis of the United States Army. Stephen Polidis is a World War II veteran who served in both the Army and the Air Corps. In 1944, Stephen was a radio man on a B-17 bomber when it was shot down in Croatia. After the war, Stephen entered the private defense industry. Today, at a spry 97 years old, Stephen continues to serve the community by tutoring advanced math to students at Welby Way Elementary, and he's active in Operation Gratitude and Wings Over Wendy's. Stephen Polidis.
All right.
Representing Council District 4, Councilmember Tom LaBonge, Joseph Pietroforte of the United States Army.
All right.
And that uniform still fits him perfectly, as you can see. Joseph Pietroforte served in the Army under General Patton in Company G of the 3rd Army as a rocket launcher or bazooka man. His last rank in the Army was as a sergeant. He was awarded the Silver and Bronze Stars and the Rifle and Wreath. He served 9 months in combat. After the war, Mr. Pietroforte eventually moved to the San Fernando Valley and opened the Victory Drive-In in North Hollywood, which every Valley member is well familiar with, in 1949. Today, he serves as the official historian for Company G of Patton's 3rd Army, Joseph Pietroforte. Representing Council District 5, Councilmember Paul Koretz's honoree, Mike Stajura of the United States Army. Mike Stajura served as an officer in the Army from 1995 to 2002. He first enlisted in 1990 and entered the United States Military Academy at West Point. He served in Bosnia-Herzegovina, Honduras, and Korea. He moved to Westwood in 2003 and was a founding member of the Westwood Neighborhood Council, serving for 4 years. He's currently completing his doctoral studies at the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health. Mike Stajura. Representing Council District 6, the honoree of Councilmember Nuri Martinez, Olivia J. Chavez of the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah! Captain Olivia J. Chavez has had an amazing career that began in 1992 when she enlisted in the United States Marine Corps out of San Fernando High School. Captain Chavez is a decorated combat helicopter pilot, having logged 170 combat hours during her deployment to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Olivia is currently serving as a media officer with the 201st Press Camp headquarters in Bell, California. She's been serving our country for 21 years. Olivia Chavez. Representing Council District 7, Councilmember Felipe Fuentes' honoree, Clifford Kellgreen of the United States Navy. Cliff Kellgreen enlisted in the United States Navy, where he served from 1980 to 1986. He served as a bosun's mate during the time of the Cold War conflict and was stationed in San Diego, Beirut, and off the coast of Nicaragua. He currently serves as the commander for the very active American Legion Post 377 of Tujunga, On a yearly basis, he organizes a Veterans Day tribute along Foothill Boulevard and all of the important Veterans Day activities that happen in the Sunland Tahunga area. Cliff Kelgreen and Post 377 leads the way. Clifford Kelgreen. Representing Council District 8, Councilmember Bernard Parks honoree, Robert Holman of the United States Army. Sergeant Robert Holman hails from Memphis and served in the Army between 1948 and 1951. During the Korean War, he was wounded and then captured by Chinese forces. Sergeant Holman is believed to be the first Memphis prisoner of the Chinese to be returned home safely. He now lives in Los Angeles and was the first person to start a phone answering service here in the Los Angeles area. Mr. Robert Holman. Representing Council District 9, the honoree of Councilmember Curran Price, Felipe Tejas of the U.S. Army. Felipe Tejas enlisted in the U.S. Army in 2001. In 2003, his unit was activated for combat and he was deployed to Iraq. While in Iraq, he was promoted to E5 Sergeant, and in 2004, he was hit by a car bomb while on patrol. He suffered injuries to the left side of his neck, but he continued serving. While in the Army, Felipe received the Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, and many, many more. Felipe Tejas of the United States Army. Council District 10.
Yay!
The honoree of Council President Herb Wesson. Angela Adams of the United States Army. Angela Adams is a 30-year veteran of the United States Army Reserves. She's a retired Command Sergeant Major who has served in Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, in Heidelberg, Germany in support of Bosnia-Herzegovina, and in Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. During her illustrious military career, she received the Bronze Star while in Iraq and 2 meritorious service medals. Veteran of the Year for Council District 10, Angela Adams. Representing Council District 11, the honoree of Councilmember Mike Bonin, Aisha Robinson of the United States Army. Aisha, and we have several generations of veterans here, you see, which is great to see. Aisha Robinson is a 25-year-old veteran of Afghanistan, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom. She served in the Army from 2011 to 2013 and was stationed in Vilseck, Germany for most of her enlistment. PFC Robinson served as a medic for the Army. She received the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Medal, and an Army Service Ribbon, and she's continuing her medical studies now that she's back home. Welcome home, and let's recognize the honoree, the Veteran of the Year for Council District 11, Aisha Robinson. Council District 12, the honoree of Councilmember Mitchell Englander, Andre Vandervalk of the United States Army. Andre Vandervalk was drafted and served as a sergeant with a combat unit in Vietnam attached to the Army SIS with a top secret clearance. Andre served 13 months in combat, including the Tet Offensive in 1968. Upon his return to the United States in 1968, he immediately returned to his job with Union 76, now Unocal, and he returned to school while working full-time and supporting his wife and his 3 kids. He worked at Union 76 until his retirement in 1989, and as Mr. Englander mentioned in the rotunda, has continued to be very actively involved in our community, serving in a variety of ways in Council District 12 and throughout the San Fernando Valley. The Veteran of the Year for Council District 12, Andre Vandervalk. Representing Council District 13, the honoree of Councilmember Mitchell O'Farrell, Jack Vergara of the United States Army. When Pearl Harbor was bombed on December 7th, 1941, Jack Vergara was 12 years old. Shortly thereafter, Manila was bombed as well. And the following year, at 13 years old, Jack joined the underground movement as a guerrilla fighter against the Japanese invaders. On December 28th, a year after the beginning of World War II, he was recognized as a registered member of the Philippine Guerrilla Forces. Jack's mission was to locate the whereabouts of the Japanese and figure out their plans. In August 1945, Jack was honorably discharged from the Commonwealth Army of the United States of America under the command of General Douglas MacArthur. The honoree, the Veteran of the Year for Council District 13, Jack Vergara. Representing Council District 14, the honoree of Council Member Jose Huizar. BM1 John Ruiz Guerrero is a John Ruiz Guerrero. John Ruiz Guerrero is a 14-year veteran of the United States Navy. He's currently a recruiter stationed in Hollywood. He was born and raised in El Sereno, where he currently resides. He has received 5 Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medals. As you can see, the hardware on his chest, I think he walks sideways from all the weight on the left side of his chest there. He's also received medals from the Coast Guard and the Army. He's been part of many humanitarian efforts and has gone beyond the call of duty to help people in need. He currently serves on the El Sereno Veterans Monument Committee and many other veterans committees. Let's hear it for the Veteran of the Year for Council District 14, John Ruiz Guerrero. And finally, the Veteran of the Year for Council District 15, the honoree of Councilmember Joe Buscaino, Richard Cisneros of the United States Army. Richard Cisneros served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. In his first tour, he was in the 1st Cavalry Division, A Company, and on the second tour, he was in the 25th Infantry Wolfhounds. Richard served 6 years in the Army and was awarded the National Defense Medal, the Purple Heart, the Vietnamese Gallantry Cross, and many more. He retired from the Army as a buck sergeant and continues to be active in his community in Council District 15. Richard Cisneros, Veteran of the Year for Council District 15. And with that, Mr. President, thank you all members for participating in this recognition of our Veterans of the Year.
Thank you again, Mr. Krikorian. Now, it's my understanding that Mr. Labange has an additional honoree.
Absolutely. And I
Mr.
thank you,
Labange.
Mr. President. Mr. Krikorian, give him a hand and his staff for organizing this. Long thought out first. I want to introduce Sergeant Eric King. Sergeant King, United States Marine, served in Iraq for 6 years.
Let's give him a round of applause.
He's my deputy in Sherman Oaks. Good job there. But more importantly, Mr. President, because as things happen, the real special, all of you are special. Joe, you're very special. But my district is Valley and City, Metropolitan. So I wanted to get someone from the metropolitan area. Joe's from Sherman Oaks. Hail to the Valley. But Bud Rice right here. Stand up, Bud, right there. Bud Rice, 22 years old. United States Air Corps. Listen to this. Bud was the first pilot in the 37th Squadron of the 316th Troop Carrier Group of the Air Corps. Bud was 22 years old when he flew a C-47 in the D-Day invasion. His mission dropped 21 paratroopers into parts of France in a strategic effort in that battle at D-Day. He's a pilot who was part of the aerial invasion for Normandy after 18 months of intense training. He's a wonderful man. The plan was, when they came in, is to keep strict radio silence, fly in a formation tight, and deliver the paratroopers safely in their spot zones in France. Bud was a great flyer, and we're very proud of him. He's married to his beautiful wife, Betty, for 67 years. Very special there. And Mr. President, you bragged this morning about the Ethics Commission. Well, Bud is a great member of St. Brendan's Church, and he will tell me every time I'm not there, Joe Buscaino. He'll say, "Where are you, Tom? Where are you?" Bud has got great eyes. He's got great heart. He's our hero on this side of the mountain, as Joe is on the other side of the mountain, as all are on any mountain. Let's hear it for our veterans. Thanks, Bud.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. I would just like to give a special thank you to Mr. Holman, 8th District resident. Also, although it was stated that he was wounded in the war, his family wanted to make sure we specifically stated he was a recipient of the Purple Heart. He served in Korea, but also I wanted him to know that last Friday the council adjourned in memory of Sergeant Manning, who also was a prisoner of war in Korea. Unfortunately, he passed away, and it took 60 years for his remains to return to the United States, and his family buried him at Inglewood Cemetery just last Friday. And so we just wanted to say thank you for your service, and also for everyone's awareness. October 31st was National POW Day, and so you're getting honored twice in the sense of the National POW Day and veterans, and also the fact that you served in this community and then later came here as a business person. Thank you.
Mr. Fuentes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to also thank Mr. Krikorian for bringing this very important day to City Hall. I want to acknowledge my colleague Bob Blumenfield as well. Yesterday we had the San Fernando Valley Veterans Day Parade. 11 years that we've been doing it. Both Bob and I were staff to then Congressman Howard Berman, myself to Council President Padilla, and we brought that parade, which is the only parade in the San Fernando Valley, to honor veterans. But thank you, Mr. Krikorian, for mentioning that Dan Kellgreen is a commander for the American Legion Post 377, but he also does so much more to recognize veterans every single year. He helps organize a Veterans Day tribute along Foothill Boulevard by placing American flags on the boulevard so that everybody can recognize that their contribution to our great society. He also enlists the help of Boy Scout Troop 315 to do that, to teach the younger folks about what service is and how important it is. He also organizes a yearly service for Memorial Day at Sunland Park to remember the men and women who have so contributed in the highest way possible by sacrificing themselves for this country's armed forces. He's helped partner with the Sunland Tujunga Rotary to install banners also along the boulevard there to recognize men and women. He's done so much, and as a post commander, we're terribly proud to have shared him, Mr. Krikorian, because I know that he was your constituent for a little while during CD2. But give him a big round of applause. Thank you much for your service.
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you. Just briefly, I too want to thank Councilmember Krikorian for doing this for our veterans and recognizing our outstanding citizens from the city who have served our country and continue to provide for our communities. And my nominee, John Reese Guerrero, I wanted to mention he's been working on a committee that just this weekend we broke ground on a memorial to our veterans there in El Sereno. So I wanted to thank you in particular for that. That is going to be something that as people drive in from the San Gabriel Valley into Los Angeles and leave from our city to the San Gabriel Valley in that busy corridor in Huntington Drive, people are going to look at that, reflect on that, and thank our veterans. And myself, as an immigrant born in Mexico, coming here as a young age, I'm proud of my culture, I'm proud of where I come from, but I'm equally proud to be an American citizen. And when I think of that, I think of our veterans and those who have served in the armed forces to defend and protect our country and the ideals we believe in. Thank you so much to all our veterans. God bless you all.
Mr. Bloomingfield.
Just want to add my voice and certainly thanking Mr. Krikorian for bringing this forward. And I wanted to make a special mention of Stephen Politis, who was here. It was part of Wings Over Wendy's, the group that we had honored just the other week, where they get together for camaraderie. He is one of these amazing people, and you alluded to his story where he got shot down in the B-17 over Croatia. The underground found him, patched him up, and then he was back online fighting again. And he has just done so much in our community. And the other thing was mentioned, he was in private industry, but what you may not realize, he was part of an elite team that sent us literally to the moon. He was part of the engineers that were part of that lunar group, and I'm just so proud to know him. We've gotten to know each other over the years. since 6 years ago when I first came to Wings Over Wendy's in the Assembly and celebrated your birthday. He's 97 years old and just doing amazing. So wanted to recognize you. Thank you.
Mr. Price.
I just join my colleagues in just saluting the outstanding job that the veterans have done here and abroad, and you continue to be a source of inspiration for us all with your service. And I'm just especially proud to give a shout out to Felipe Teles. Felipe, although born and grew up in Huntington Park, graduated from Fremont High in the 9th District, and so we're very proud of the commitment that he made early on. He enlisted in December 2001. By 2003, his unit was activated and deployed to Iraq, where he served with great distinction. We learned of the unfortunate incident, accident, which left him injured, several operations, pieces of snapple still in the body. But you certainly continue to be a positive role model. Since your return, have been a positive role model, not only to the family, but to your community. And so, again, we just want to salute you. We thank you. We appreciate you. We're proud for your service. Continued success.
Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. And, of course, I want to join in thanking Mr. Krikorian for bringing this forward and giving us a chance to honor all those folks that have risked their lives for us and our freedom. I'm proud to have a distinguished veteran in my district with us today, Mike Stajura. I'm particularly proud not just because of his service in the military, but because of his service to the community. He was not only a founder and board member of the Westwood Neighborhood Council, but we work with him frequently on emergency preparedness events, and particularly he does an annual event in Westwood that would never happen without all of his hard work. So I am thrilled to have the opportunity to honor one of the most active people in the CD5 community.
Mr. Cedillo.
I'm happy to stand to honor Roy Payan. Many of you know him for his work with the city, the author of the 5-Step Disaster Preparedness Plan, and for his work that he does with us. But many of you don't know that he is the champion of Flat Top Hill. He's called the guardian of Flat Top Hill. It's an important area that we're saving, that we will be coming into possession of. And so he is protecting this green space up in Montecito Heights, where he is a tremendous, tremendous community leader. I also want to acknowledge all the World War II Filipino veterans. They set a great example, provided a great service for our nation, and we owe them a debt, Mr. Speaker. In fact, we actually do owe them a debt. We had promised them veterans benefits equal to all our veterans, and yet, because of some budgetary matter that followed, we forgot what they had given us and failed to make that debt come true. You know, Mr. Speaker, that when we were in the legislature, California did its share to acknowledge those veterans, but our country still owes them a debt that needs to be paid sooner than later. And so I want to acknowledge all the Filipino veterans of World War II and Roy Payan, who follows in their tradition of service and commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo, and I join you with that. Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President, and let me also thank Mr. Krikorian for putting this presentation together. Colleagues, this is Los Angeles. Nonagenarians and 20-somethings, white, black, Latino, Asian American. We have a cross-section of Los Angeles here, just as the military represents a cross-section of this country. We now have in our military not just men, we now have women. We now have in our military not just heterosexuals, but gays and lesbians and bisexuals and the trans community as well. The military is changing and Los Angeles is changing, and I'm so glad that we have honorees today that reflect that. It's also important to note that, like my honoree, Ms. Robinson, many members of the military carry on a family tradition of serving in the armed forces. Ms. Robinson notes that she's a small-town girl who joined the military to make her family proud, as I am absolutely certain that you have done, and to carry on the family's history. She has family members who served in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. It's also for her personal that her military service inspire other generations of her family. She believes that by serving, she can inspire a younger generation of her family members and inspire them to gain purpose and structure and ultimately a career. I want to thank you and everybody here so much for your service. We can't thank you or the veterans in this country enough. Thank you.
Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me rise and join the choir of thanks and praise, and also thank Mr. Krikorian for an incredible presentation. And I loved how you actually had an opportunity to show each and every honoree a photo up on the screen. So thank you to you and your team for putting together this presentation. Let's give Mr. Krikorian a round of applause and his entire team. Thank you. And Mr. Cisneros, who often we remember where we were when we turned 21 years old. Well, Mr. Cisneros from Wilmington, California, was in flight on his 21st birthday on his way to Vietnam. And not only he served with courage, he also decided to take a second tour to Vietnam and go back and served 2 full tours of duty in Vietnam. Today he stands before us with honor, integrity, and grace. And Richard, we thank you for your ongoing efforts in promoting all the work that you've done with the VFW in Wilmington as well. Whenever we bury a vet VFW from Wilmington, the Honor Guard is there representing. And we had an amazing weekend of reflection at the USS Iowa on Saturday and Sunday and yesterday as well. And our remarks really emphasize the importance of when a veteran serves our country, we need to be sure that we have a job and a bed waiting for them upon their return. And we recognize Mayor Garcetti's efforts by developing the Veteran Affairs Department. And we recall and reflect that when we go to our place of worship, we do so without fear. We need to remember and thank a veteran for that. Or when we speak in this chambers freely, without fear, we need to thank a veteran for that. Or when we cross city limits without fear, without a checkpoint, we remember and thank a veteran for that. So with that, we thank all of our veterans who've been acknowledged and honored here today. Thank you for your service. May God bless you, and thank you for this opportunity to allow us to recognize you.
Mr. Englander. No.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so much has been said, but we can never say enough. So I just want to stand and thank you. Thank you for so much and what you've done. I want to single out Andre van der Valk as well. He and his wife and Linda's here. I asked Linda to stand up and be recognized for a minute as well. While we are honoring our veterans, and last Friday, my colleague and I, Bob Blumenfield, brought Wings Over Wendy's here to City Hall. I believe that we need to honor all of you each and every day for what my colleague spoke about, but beyond that. I want to also recognize not just our veterans. I want to recognize the families of anybody who served. Because quite frankly, and as a child and son of a 100% disabled vet, it's also and often the families, the ones that are at home, while those are serving overseas, are the ones who paid the ultimate sacrifice, or the ones who are caring for and helping with when they come home. And so to recognize our veterans, but also the veteran families, the men and the women the husbands and the wives, the mothers and the fathers, the aunts and the uncles, the children and grandchildren, those who continue to live with what has occurred and what's happened and what continues. I want to recognize them as well, because they too help so much and provide that stable environment for our communities. So God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Miss Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I'm last, right?
Not exactly.
Oh, wow. Wishful thinking.
Close to.
Congratulations to all the veterans for your service to this country. I just want to acknowledge, if I can, have the women serving in the military please stand. Thank you very, very much for everything that you do. And congratulations. Thank you.
Mr. Labange.
In all my speed this morning, I forgot to mention there's over 2,000 Los Angeles City employees who in the last decade have served in a variety of roles, including some have lost their life in combat missions. And let's remember all the city employees who are veterans and give them a big hand. Including Mr. Koretz, Mr. Krikorian reminded, including Mayor Garcetti. Let's give them all a hand. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All the members have spoken. I want to end this by indicating to each and every one of you that I don't have the words, the oratorical ability to thank you for the great service that you've done for this country that we all love. But to tell you that many of us recognize, as we have done the various things that we wanted to do in our life, we were able to do that because you were this part of this shield that always protected us and took care of each and every resident of the greatest country on the planet. And for me to stand with one of my constituents, Miss Adams here, 30 years, Sergeant Major, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, a volunteer in the city. And I want to acknowledge that she's also a member of the city's family, working as the assistant director for Section 8 in the Housing Authority. So with all of that said, know that from the bottom of all of our hearts, we appreciate your service to this great country. God bless you. God keep you. Everyone, let's give a round of applause to some of the bravest people that we know. Stand up one more time and receive the recognition that you deserve. Thank you all. Thank you. Mr. Krikorian will be escorting you along with our sergeants into the back. We'll be taking some photographs, and members there'll be an opportunity for each and every one of you to go back and get a photo. But one more round of applause. Again, thank you so very much. Okay, so at this point, if we could quickly take up items 24 and 25. Let us please, on these items, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Thank you. And as our veterans make their way to our media center in the back, I would like to call forth a new addition to our family. If we could have the new personnel director please come to the center table. Mr. Kretz, would you like to take a moment and introduce us to this new city member, probably?
I would, but first, if I could ask that we reconsider item number 24 and move it to Friday, because I'm not sure that the language was entirely clear on the intent.
Okay, so let's vote on reconsideration on item 24. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, and Mr. Koretz, there's going to be a bare quorum Friday. You may want to see if you'll have the time to try to straighten up that language before we end council today. But if not, we'll surely carry it over till Friday. So now the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor to say a few words about Wendy Macy, who is one of the most highly qualified people we could possibly find for this position. I had the opportunity to interview her in the process. She has had a lengthy career both in a small but beautiful area of Sonoma as the Human Resources Director to a little entity called LAUSD, where she was everything from Personnel Director to COO. She has a not bad education, a BA and a law degree from Harvard. We had a chance to talk about things. I think she has a good sense of improvements that need to be made in the department, especially in the IT area. And I'm very excited that we have her on board and look forward to seeing a lot of great things done as a result.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome you to the city family. And there's a couple of things I'd like to see that are kind of languishing in the personnel department. If we can get you to look at it and see if we can't get them moving. There was a motion a while back that asked the personnel department to evaluate our drug testing policy and also to make some refinements as it relates to this whole issue of and clarifying of medical marijuana as to whether our personnel understand clearly just what the ramifications are if it's in your system or when you come to work, which is not real clear. Also, the issue of our current narcotic testing policy is kind of a conglomeration of policies, statements, but it's never been approved by the City Council. And it's been negotiated and unions have supported it, but we still have some loose ends as it relates to whether it causes some concerns about our funding for Department of Transportation, because they do require your drug testing policy to be approved by the policymakers in that city. And then the final one is that there's, for the last several months, there was also a motion asking the Personnel Department to really evaluate the impact on our health and performance of people overusing energy drinks, which appears to be the crave. And there's a tremendous amount of literature that's being accumulated at CDC in a variety of health locations that are talking about particular health energy drinks are causing concerns, particularly amongst young people. And so those are things that are in the department. I think many of them are probably being held, hopeful that you get your insight into them, but we certainly are interested in seeing those percolate out of the department at some time.
Mr. Wizar. Mr. Wizar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say thank you for your acceptance and application for this position. I recall at the school district when I was there, where our risk management we were trying to find a way as to what's the best approach to move forward there. And you were the person that I caught on to as a magnet to pursue and follow your lead and how we fixed some of the risk management issues we had at the time. I don't know if you recall, but this was back in 2002,
There's three of them?
2003, 4, around that time. But thank you for your service. I've had a lot of respect for the work you've done at LUSD, and I think the city's going to be well served with you here as well. We have a lot before us, but with someone like you there, I think we're going to do a good job in moving that department forward, as it has been doing for. It's been doing a good job, and with you there, it's going to continue to do a good job. Thank you so much.
Okay. I have no speakers on the queue here. Why don't we just vote on this thing? Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Congratulations.
And
you may want to make a closing. Just say howdy to everybody. Go right ahead.
Thrilled to be back in Los Angeles and being able to serve the city here. I loved my work at the Los Angeles Unified School District. I loved my work in county government, but I'm looking forward to embracing the next challenge here in city government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, you have an announcement?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, the general manager's approved annual salary is set at $200,001.36.
Thank you. Okay. Items 11 and 27, it's my understanding we can take these up together. Do we have? I have a card on 11. Mr. Walsh, please come forward on item 11.
Bring it back to you. Okay. Sir, do you remember I take back? They want cleaner copies because of these.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Number 11, this is the foreclosure registry. When they illegally foreclose on your home, they have a big leather-covered book, a registry. The book costs $350. It's beautiful leather, and they want to put your name in there. So they're going to spend a good deal of money for the foreclosure registry. We lead all cities in America with heartless foreclosures per square mile. And as I've said, remember, who knows better about racism than a white man? Remember, we invented racism. And I'm telling you right now, the foreclosures are mostly in black neighborhoods. And your Uncle Toms don't give a damn. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Now we go to item 27. Public hearing has been satisfied on item 27. So let us, on that item, open the roll. Yes, Mr. Clerk.
I am very sorry, sir. Amending motion 27A, that's motion Cedillo Martinez, has been circulated and is now before council for consideration.
Okay, let us. No, Mr. Parks.
On the schedule, it said something about potential litigation. Has that been resolved? Because I didn't see anything that addressed that.
I really don't know.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is that real? Or before we approve the ordinance, is that a real threat, or somebody's sued us on this?
I think it was discussed earlier in committee, and it's a threat based on the possibility of the litigation.
It's been resolved?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Okay, so let's vote on this. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Mr. Walsh, item 42. Yes, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Item 42, again, I can't believe it. I want everyone to go out right now who's watching this and look at your street and look how terrible it is and how broken it is. What are they spending thousands upon thousands of dollars for the installation of automated litter bins? This is how you throw a damn piece of crap away. You don't need to step on a pedal. You don't need anything except their friends are introducing automated litter bins. And you will see coming through when the automated litter bin closes on someone's hand, you'll see them giving out hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, the LA Times, the worst reporter in the world, David Sennheiser, he's not going to do the story on the automated litter bins. We do not need automated litter bins, and you can shove them up where the sun doesn't shine. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Item 35, it was Mr. Price.
Yep, Mr. President, I just moved the CAO report.
Okay. So now on... I second it. Let's vote on that item then. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Mr. Walsh, item 43. And Mr. Herman, you'll be after Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This concerns holiday lights. So you can see how poor the streets are. Our streets, in the worst condition of any city in America. Okay? And this is on Eagle Rock Boulevard. And this is just $1,500 to install and remove, not the cost. Incidentally, we don't have holiday lights anymore on Hollywood Boulevard and this is for one median traffic island at 4044 Eagle, $1,500. What do the lights have? Platinum? And incidentally, they don't give a syphilitic rat's ass, and if the media doesn't care, they don't care. It's going to be 15-0, and look at your streets, how horrible they are. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, Mr. Herman.
Angelinos, I can't figure out why Joe Busciano has any interest in an area that's totally unrelated to Long Beach on the installation and removal of holiday lights at the median island for a measly $1,500. HollywoodHighland.org, John Walsh, has informed you of the little potential, extremely offensive potential, to remove these holiday lights at a time when the city deficit continues to be explored by our council to misuse public funds, and again, for installation and removal of holiday lights. Shit, what? It takes an idiot $1,500 to remove lights? I can do it on a pro bono. Keep your last 5 seconds, foolishness.
Okay, let's vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Item 45, Mr. Walsh and Mr. Herman on item 45.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This is a pedestrian safety plan for Hollywood, finally. Finally. Now, whether this is the right safety plan, no, I don't know. It can be amended. So again, when you do something right, then you get applauded for it. But this is you've hired someone named Deborah Murphy to initiate work on a pedestrian safety plan. Well, I've been walking. The first time I walked the streets of Hollywood Boulevard was '66. Okay, before some of you were born. You could eat off the Hollywood Walk of Fame then. That's how. Now you take your life in your hands when you go on Hollywood Boulevard. Now even the cartoon characters, even Marilyn Monroe might beat you up and steal your money. The lookalikes. The pedestrians are in big, big trouble. Stay away from Hollywood Boulevard until the pedestrian safety plan is in action. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, Mr. Herman.
Slip and fall city of the capital relative to the funding for specialized services to develop a pedestrian safety plan for Hollywood. Over and over, all you Angelenos who voted against Mr. Bloomfield's $1.1 billion sidewalk development, thank you for stopping it. But in this proposal by Mr. LaBonge and Mr. O'Farrell for a safety plan in Hollywood, we all know that the city of Los Angeles has become the slip and fall capital of the world. So the city advises you, don't worry. Just file a claim here at the city clerk's office and sue us. You might gain $3,000, you might gain $10,000. But if you go before a jury, you might gain a little more. Ask Mr. Englander in his settlement, which is off topic, but going back on topic on not sexual harassment, but rather in regards to the funding for specialized services to develop a pedestrian safety plan. Since 1973, we have not had accessibility, safety for all, with equality for every pedestrian in the city of Los Angeles, regardless of your handicap or your ability to walk. So unfortunately, unpredictably, we have considered the issue here whether or not $5,000 should be allocated to the Hollywood Mobility Trust Fund account in the District 13 Public Benefit Trust Fund. I say to all of you today, for the future of accessible, safe sidewalks and streets, I say put it on the hands of the 15 councilmen here today who have violated our rights under ADA in Title I and Title II to use public funds correctly. Thank you.
14 council members, one great councilwoman. Correction, Mr. City Attorney. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
15 ayes. Let's go to item number 1.
Very good, sir. Item 1 called special for card.
Mr. Herman.
We're talking about, wow, hello. Hello, are we here? Mic check, thank you. Yes, we're talking about the liens. The process of these liens are just racist and discriminatory. As we've heard about Peng Chang MD for $25,000, or what about Wedbush Securities Incorporated for $266,000, but that's a different type of lien. But to suffice the issue of problems negotiated by Charles, the Department of Building and Safety right here to my left, all of you continue to not notify by certified mail individuals regarding the illegal lien process by the City of Los Angeles. I demand the Attorney General's office and the Department of the FBI to investigate these provisions of rape by liens due to the citations, inspection costs for non-compliance violations. Again, we heard the sad stories of our veterans. Again, veterans who are being cited for the citations of liens against their properties. How many sad stories have you heard of veteran women and children now out of a home due to a lien? These provisions The process and the accountability is so hilarious. I just thought I'd bring it up to the city attorney, Mr. Dion, there, because again, the situation does not get any better than this. This process of not notifying, and I say to all you Angelenos, respectively, come to LA, they will reduce the charges, they will negotiate a better price, and you won't have to pay the high cost of the lien on interest.
Mr. Walsh. That completes it. No speakers on the queue. Mr. Krikorian, was that you? Yeah, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you. I'd like to ask that item 1H be continued for 2 weeks, please.
1H, 2 weeks without objection. Is that okay, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. And 2 weeks is November 26th.
November 26th. Thank you very much. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Next item, item 31. Not 31? Okay, we're going to hold 31. Let's go closed session, if we could, please. I don't have any cards on 50. Thank you. All right, Sergeant, would you prepare the chambers for the executive session? And Mr. City Attorney, will you state the reason? Thank you.
City Council is going into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2.
Hold on a second, please. Are we ready, Mr. Clerk? All right, good. We're back in session now. We're going to go to public comment. John Walsh.
Let the record show that we handed in a card from number 31. 31 should not have gone into a closed session. We will file a complaint with the city attorney. It doesn't say.
31 was not in closed session.
What? You were in closed session. Do not interrupt me.
31 was not in closed session.
What were we doing outside? HollywoodHighlands.org. And I want to say that Nuri Martinez has a challenger, Cindy Montañez. We want you to know we support Nuri Martinez 100%. Cindy Montañez is being put up hundreds of thousands of dollars because Nuri Martinez has not been as slavish to the city council and to the mayor as she was supposed to be. Cindy Montañez will lose. She will lose 100%. And as we know, she accused Nuri Martinez of being soft on child molesting when it turned out that Ms. Martinez actually had an event concerning child molestation in her childhood. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Herman.
In all due respects, I came in prepared for this surgery today because my understanding is that on the short end of the Napoleon status, I can't seem to cut the brain in half to examine why Herb Wesson allows us no more than a measly 1 minute. But those of you who have disabilities and need accessible timelines, this is the provisions of violations of the federal and state law to allow you a measly 2 effing minutes to speak down to 1 minute. And let us not forget Mr. Corrett's violation of my rights here during a public comment 1 minute, October 7th, 2 hours and 3 minutes, when he assaulted and battered me here before all you lovely folks of Los Angeles. And now I'm down to 654. I say to all of you, Happy Veterans Day.
Winnie Pleasant, please. Winnie Pleasant. Ms. Pleasant here. Mr. Clerk, please note this card. Abraham Mercado. Did I say that improperly?
Mercado.
Mercado. Thank you, Abraham.
Good morning. I am here on behalf of Metro to give a quick but very important update on the State Route 710 North Study Project. Our draft environmental impact report is anticipated to come out in early 2015. So I left some materials for the council to review. The Metro and Caltrans are studying 5 alternatives on how to improve mobility within this study area. 1 is a no-build alternative. 2 is a bus rapid transit alternative. 3 is light rail alternative. 4 is a transportation system management / transportation demand management. And the 5th is the freeway tunnel. And I'd like to say that no decision has been made on this project. There will be a 90-day public comment period. There's also going to be 2 public hearings that are going to be scheduled when the DEIR is released. So, thank you.
Hey, please stay on the side. We want to talk to you in a minute as a representative of Metro. Dr. Zara McLeod. Zara McLeod here, please. Metro.
Good morning to the councilman and councilwomen. I'm Dr. McLeod. I'm here in view of a very urgent situation at one of our human trafficking and domestic violence place due to the mistakes that the housing department made, and I'm sure that my good friends here, such as my Councilman Price, Perez, Wesson, and many of you whom I've met in the past, as I serve also as an elected official, do not know, so I'm here to bring this to your attention. I would like to yield my time to Miss Winnie Pleasant, so she will take it from here. Thank you. Okay.
Alicia Hester. Miss Hester here?
Yes, her time is also going to Miss Winnie Pleasant.
No, we don't do that. You got to, when your name's called, you got to speak.
Okay.
Miss Hester, please.
Thank you for addressing me, Councilman. I will be back on Friday.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, will you assist on this here, please? I'm handing you, tell me the names there. Names on that, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, one would seem to indicate P.A. Edmead.
Is there a P.A. Edney there? A lot of handwriting. Has anyone filled out a card with a lot of comment on it? Is there any speakers who would like to speak? Your name, sir, please. Did you fill out a card? Yeah. Thank you, Sergeant. Please assist. Hold on. Watch the fire, sir. We're still in... you take that back off there, please. Hey, take it out.
I have to go to the appellate side. I addressed Mr. Parker and Ms. Perry when she was here, even Grossetti. Yeah. Either you are interested, no one can withdraw any finances out of the Federal Reserve account while I'm gone. Not even Wesson is authorized to do nothing on my behalf for the city property is concerned. That's all I have to say. I'm leaving. I got a CTS meeting. I have meetings in the state of Louisiana. I must attend.
Thank you.
I have to talk to Halliburton.
Thank you very much.
And if you tap that account, that's it.
I have no other cards, Mr. Clerk, at this time. Sergeant, no other cards? No other recognized speakers? Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, we do have item 49 still to dispose of. In the case entitled City of Los Angeles versus Clark Contract Corporation, there is a recommendation to accept settlement in the amount of $285,000.
Ms. Martinez, please, at this time. Thank you.
Mr. President, we'd like to wish Mr. Herb Wesson a happy birthday. If you can please come down and blow your candles.
Oh, all right. Special order of business. All right.
Not yet. Not yet.
Birthday, dear Herb.
But the enthusiasm. Happy birthday to you. Watch your tie. All right. Sergeants. Come on. Happy birthday, Mr. Wesson. I know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Very nice.
Listen, give peace to everyone that wants it.
You got that, Betsy?
Yeah.
You get a shot with the sergeant there. Good, you get a good shot, Betsy. Okay, Mr. Clerk, tell me what's before us.
We still have item 49, sir. In the case
Item
entitled
49.
City of Los Angeles versus Clark Contracting Corporation, there is a recommendation to accept settlement in the amount of $285,000.
Is this guy with you? Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
14 ayes. Thank you. So ordered. Any other business?
Mr. President, I have been informed that item 12 should be reconsidered and continued to a different date.
All right, let's open the roll for reconsideration. Close the roll. Now tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Now we have to do anything more, Alan?
Yes, sir. We should now vote on the continuation of item 12 to November 25.
I can't just order it?
Yes, you can.
I order it.
Very good, sir,
Okay,
without
thank you.
objection.
For Mr. Weezar. Thank you. Next item.
Mr. President, I believe we still have item 31 as well as item 24.
All right, on 31, is Mr. Herman still here? Please come forward, Mr. Herman. You're out of time, Mr. Herman. Have a good day. Mr. Walsh have time? 1 minute, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. What they're doing is adding 50 more exempt positions. What that means is you don't have to have any qualifications to get the job. All you have to do is get the mayor's okay to be hired. They can be for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the city councils. Back east, there are thousands of these positions in cities like New York. In other words, I understand there's someone up who has a child kiddie porn conviction on his record. The mayor wants to hire him. He cannot hire him through civil service. One of these 50 positions will be to hire this man with a kiddie porn conviction. They can hire anybody now with 50 more exempt positions. This is corruption. That's why they went in the back, they went here, they kicked us out, they talked about it amongst themselves, and now they've decided. HollywoodHighlands.org, no exemptions.
Jay Handel.
Good morning, council members. My name is Jay Handel, and I'm here representing the budget advocates on item 31 and also 24. We've had a lot of meetings in the last 48 hours, and the budget advocates have sent all of you letters requesting you not only to do the increase by the 50, but to dedicate in the ordinance 7 positions for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Right now, folks, here's the bottom line. We've got 4 field staff to handle 96 neighborhood councils. Every one of your staff gets calls every single day from problems about neighborhood councils. And it's because the department is so underfunded, you, the city council, are violating the city charter by not funding the department in a proper manner in order for them to fulfill their mandate under the charter. So today, we ask, as the Bond Commission has voted to ask, that you allow in those 50 positions, just like you've done in other departments that reads in the exempt ordinance, that they be given 7 positions dedicated so that when staff leaves, the department can appoint and bring somebody in to take that position. Right now, this department is decimated, cannot do its job. Even with the C4C program that I chair, the mentoring program, we cannot fill the gaps anymore. We have 43 neighborhood councils out of compliance right now on funding paperwork. We have neighborhood councils that are burning and crashing in every one of your districts, and it's nobody's fault except for the managed hiring and what we've done in the past. Now it's time to correct that. You've got the agreement to put in 50 new positions. We beg you, we implore you, put 7 of those positions as dedicated positions to done so they no longer have to be scratching at the surface to try and help the 1,800 neighborhood council volunteers who help every department in this city every day. Thank you.
Ann Job, is that correct, Ann?
It's actually pronounced Job. My name is Ann Job. I am the president of the Sylmar Neighborhood Council. However, I speak as an individual stakeholder. I speak in support of item 31 with the following changes, which really seconds Mr. Jay Handel's position. Please dedicate 7 of the exempt city positions to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment to ensure that Dunn's ability to fulfill its duties as per the city charter. As it stands now, there are too few people at Dunn, resulting in neighborhood council board members, volunteers all, being frustrated in our efforts to advocate for our communities. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Lydia Grant.
Hi, I'm Lydia Grant. I am the North Valley representative for the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, the department that helps the neighborhood councils and the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I'm here today. I turned in a copy of a letter for all of you. I'd like to read it to you, but I want to let you know that while I did originally turn it in for item 24, it does relate to item 31 because it's the information in 31 about terminating vacated positions that we're unable to fill, which has created the problem in which I wrote the letter for. And that is, dear honorable members, over the past year, the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners and the Commission has witnessed the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment suffer from personnel cuts and attrition until now it has reached a point where there may be no longer be able to fulfill its charter-mandated responsibilities to foster and support neighborhood councils. Today, your agenda includes the approval of an ordinance to increase the number of citywide exemptions pursuant to the City Charter Section 1001B from the current cap of 150 persons to 200. The Commission supports this increase and asks that 6 of these new exempt positions be allotted to the department. We understand the challenges posed by this request in the current budget and in this environment. However, adding that these positions will not cost the city any new money as the department's carryover from last year's budget amounts to $484,000. I'm going to run out of time, but you can read the letter yourself, so I want to add one point. No other city department is being asked to do more than it did 10 years ago with 70% cut in staff. We ask for these positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian, your expertise, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank the neighborhood council representatives who came down. I think all of us would agree at the degree to which Dunn has been decimated and still has to try to perform its services. What's before us today, though, doesn't specify what these positions will be in any department. This is simply to lift the cap on exempt positions so that we can consider positions for Dunn or any number of other departments across the city. So what's before us today is not a designation of where these positions will be. It's simply lifting the cap. So I'd ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Koretz?
Yes, I was wondering if we could ask Rick Cole from the mayor's office to give us a brief summary of what exactly this would do and why it's
got to
being
hear you now.
requested.
Rick Cole, Deputy Mayor Rick Cole, you're wanted at the center table.
Council member, members of the council, are you looking for a report or an answer to a question?
I want you to tell exactly what Mr. Koretz wants in his detailed, deep question.
Council member.
I just wanted to ask if you could walk us through why these positions are necessary and exactly what this would do.
As each of you on the council know, the city charter has a provision for exempting 150 positions. That provision goes on to state that the 150 that's in the charter may rise by authority of the city council by ordinance. We have been bumping up against that 150 for a reason that goes to the systemic challenges we have filling positions in the city of Los Angeles. Most people are aware that we've reduced the general fund workforce over the last 5 or 6 years by over 5,000. What I think hasn't really sunk in is that when we hit 5,000, we kept going, and that we are now essentially, we have shrunk the general fund workforce by 7,000 positions, and every single month we're seeing the attrition of an additional 40. This isn't because we're trying to balance the budget, although we are. This is because we cannot hire people quickly enough. We are now in a position where, with the backup in personnel, we have 135 positions backlogged for civil service processing. It takes, as all of you know, nearly 6 months to go through the entire civil service process. So when you authorize positions in the budget in May and the departments begin their planning for July 1st, the position may not be filled for a full year. So all the work that you were expecting to be done doesn't get done. And even if the position is then authorized, then someone may promote up into that position, which leaves another vacancy. So we solve a problem here and we lose a problem here. We have nearly 40% of the general fund workforce eligible for retirement within the next 3 years. So that's why the attrition continues. So genuinely, this has nothing to do with the traditional reasons for exemptions. This has everything to do with literally departments clamoring for authority to hire. So if that's helpful as background, that's what we're asking for. This would increase by a net of 50 additional positions. And at the Personnel Committee hearing, the chair, Councilmember Koretz, wanted to ensure that these positions are transparent, and we agree with that. So this includes a provision, and that's just been clarified, hence the delay here asked for by Councilmember Koretz, to clarify that the council will retain greater authority over these additional positions. Currently, if we request to fill an existing vacancies, you have to veto it within 10 days. Now, under this provision for the additional 50, you have the positive authority. It does not become reauthorized without your vote. It's more cumbersome that way, but we add transparency. And frankly, the cumbersome part is actually good, because you will see what the departments are seeing, which is we have a crisis in hiring. That's not going to be solved overnight. Even if we added positions in the personnel department, we'd have the same problem filling positions in the personnel department that we have filling positions in all the other departments. So this is a real challenge. It's one that Councilmember Koretz and the members of the committee want to tackle with the mayor's office and with the departments, and we look forward to doing that. We are trying to hire the people to pave our streets, to trim our trees, to clean up our alleys, and right now they are stuck in a holding pattern, and this is an effort to begin to dislodge some of those positions so we can get the real job of back to basics done in the city of Los Angeles. I know each one of you is committed to that, and we genuinely appreciate the willingness of the council to work with us to achieve a shared goal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Bonin, go right back to Mr. Koretz.
I do want to note that we've passed out item 31A, which is technical wording change to properly move forward exactly what Mr. Cole was just discussing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Bonin? Okay, Mr. Bonin. Mr. Labange?
I just say, Mr. Cole, it's good to see you. One of our biggest challenges is personnel in all categories and being able to respond to the needs of the people in funded positions and getting the right people hired. This particular issue, too, also was part of the whole wave of change in the new charter, and I support what the mayor says there and his efforts there, and thank you for your service. But I just wanted to put a plug in. I'd missed the personnel director this morning, and we were in the back with the veterans. I want to follow up on that because it's a great hurdle that we have to jump over as we serve the people of Los Angeles. Thank you.
We have what we hope will be a great leader for that department moving forward. And I want to thank you, Council President Wesson, for your office's support in this matter.
Thank you. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Now, Mr. Clerk, I believe we have to vote on 24 as well.
Yes, sir.
So on item 24, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And are these the are these the super forthwith items? No, we've taken it. Okay, Ms. Martinez. Maybe this. Maybe it was accidentally pressed. Okay. That brings us where?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, now I do want to give. We have one person for general public comment that wasn't here. So if you could come and give your 1 minute, please identify yourself. Mr. Cedillo, before you start. Mr. Cedillo?
Yes.
Did you press your?
That was some time back. Sir.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't see it. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Council. Thank you for allowing me the time. Mr. Cedillo, good to see you. I'm here on behalf of the African Community Resource Centers Incorporated. It's a house devoted to helping refugee, human traffic victims, and domestic violence. We are appealing to this council today because your city made a grave mistake. There's some criminal activity that occurred with the property. The executive director, she was convicted of embezzlement and over $2 million. She did time, she got out of jail, and she returned to re-victimize this house. At the same time, your city, well, the house went under receivership by the court, and the receiver put a lien on the property to get paid for his work. Then your city graciously stepped in to keep the house going because of the good work that we were doing. But now we face a trustee sale on November 24th because the criminal was allowed to come back and re-victimize the same house. The mistake that I'm sorry for the time.
Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you very much. If I do it for you, have to do it for everyone. So thank you so much for coming. Again, Mr. Clerk, where were we?
Mr. President, the desk is clear.
Okay, so any announcements?
Mr. President, this afternoon, Mr. President, the Trade and Commerce Committee and Tourism Committee will meet in San Pedro at the Harbor Commission to deal with issues related to the Port of Los Angeles. Mr. Buscaino and I, Mr. Bonin, staff will be there as well as we work on issues of the port and the trade. Wanted to make that general announcement. Tourism, thank you. Today at 3:30. Go down the San Pedro Freeway straight into San Pedro.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And I just want to, before I have a feeling I know what you're going to mention, but I have to say this before you mention that. Members, I want to give a shout out to this council for supporting, in particular, the Valley members, past and present, who continued to fight to ensure that this museum at Hansen Dam, the Discovery Cube, that it not become a white elephant or that it actually happened. It is one of the most magnificent things that I've ever seen. But Valley members, even when Mr. Blumenfield was a staff person, he was trying. So this is just a one heck of a job well done. And with that, I'll defer to Mr. Fuentes, who I'm sure has maybe particulars or something.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, it's just to sort of underscore the point that you're making, that the city of Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, is going to benefit tremendously from the opening of the Discovery Cube Children's Museum, which will open tomorrow officially. This past Sunday, we celebrated Family Day. Many of you were there in attendance, and it was a phenomenal, phenomenal opening. Not to mention, the actual Discovery Cube has tremendous, tremendous displays that are meant to reinforce science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the STEM principles, and it is going to be a tremendous asset. It, of course, is under the dutiful stewardship of Kathy Blumenfield, the executive director, our very own Bob Blumenfield's better half. She is running the museum. It's going to be phenomenal. So please, colleagues, support the museum. The museum, the Discovery Cube, will be reaching out to all of the offices so that we can begin to facilitate trips by our local schools there. I, for one, will be dedicating a significant part of our bus allotment to make sure that we do that, and I know that all of you will as well. It opens officially tomorrow. The ribbon cutting begins at 10 a.m., and as Mr. Wesson mentioned, this would not have happened without the leadership of then Council President Alex Padilla. He's the one that saw the vision when the Children's Museum was contemplating moving its location from here in downtown Los Angeles, and after a long amount of time, it's finally here. But also a steward to the project was Councilmember Richard Alarcon. He finalized it, brought it home, and he made sure that the City of Los Angeles gave as much more as it needed to complete the project. The project sat empty for 7 years, but it is finally open. It's got the stewardship of the Discovery Cube, and as I mentioned, an excellent, excellent executive director in Miss Kathy Blumenfield. Come one, come all. Bring the children, bring the grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fuentes. It is an unbelievable, just an unbelievable learning opportunity for all our children. And also I want to thank Ms. Martinez for the book drives and that she's been putting together. And I have 1,000 brand new books that I will be donating to your effort. Any more announcements? And Mr. Labange has 5. We'll take them all, Mr. Labange. If we could all rise for adjourning motions.
I'll be quick.
Okay, I'm going to look to this side. I'll go with Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, colleagues. I ask that we adjourn in memory of Harold Hambrick, Jr., called by his childhood nickname Bull. By those who knew him well, he was born in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1943. He came to Los Angeles in the summer of 1961. His exposure to the civil rights movement at Victory Baptist Church, where his uncle, Reverend Arthur Atlas Peters, was a founding minister, was instrumental in starting him on the lifelong path of advocating for the underserved and less fortunate. Although Harold was most known for his role with the Black Business Expo, the first black consumer show to run in the Tom Bradley Hall of the LA Convention Center, his life experiences were as varied as the people he influenced. He was a controller for Jefferson High School, interned at IBM, and joined the South Central Multi-Purpose Health Service Center, later known as the Watts Health Foundation, where he served in several capacities, including the Vice President of Public Affairs. He was active in the California Black Health Network, served on the Community Advisory Council at Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science, and founded the Western Association of Community Health Centers and the California Community Health Institute. He was also the co-founder of the Health Care Coalition for the Truly Needy and a member of the National Association of HMOs. Along with starting the National Black Heritage Trail with his sister and tirelessly advocating for quality health care for the less fortunate, he poured time and energy into the Watts community up until his final hour. He will forever be remembered as a healthcare advocate, a mentor who showed others their greatness, a public historian, an organizer with an uncanny knack for connecting the right folks to the right projects, specifically in the Watts community. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Buscaino, you should know that Mr. Parks and others, we adjourned, but he's given all that Harold did. Yes. He is definitely deserving of this reminder to the community that we lost a good man. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. And to colleagues, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Francisco Guadalupe Garcia, an Army veteran who served in Afghanistan. Francisco was only 21 years old. He was not lost on the battlefield, but from an act of violence in his own neighborhood. He was killed early Sunday morning in Sylmar. This young man was the cousin of one of my staff members. He had returned from Afghanistan several months and was on his way to starting a new life. He had recently been accepted into the California Highway Patrol Academy. I want to thank Tony Zapata, commander from the East LA chapter of the VFW, and Joseph Chicas, who is Mayor Garcetti's Veterans Affairs Coordinator, for offering their assistance to the family in their time of need. Funeral arrangements are pending. Francisco is survived by his mother and father, Veronica and Javier, siblings Jennifer, Valerie, Brianna, Marlene Garcia, and many cousins and loved ones who will miss him. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, any more on my left? Mr. Cedillo.
Yes, Mr. President, this is very difficult because the family and friends are here. This was sudden and shocking. I learned about this yesterday afternoon. A dear friend of ours, a constituent from my district, but a great Angelino, Richard Durado, who was often referred to as the Chicano Andy Warhol, although Richard would say Andy Warhol was the Chicano Richard Durado. In fact, what Richard would say, if you look on YouTube or on KCET, you can find some stories of him where one is titled, "I'm Richard Durado and you are not." He was special. He was born May 15th, 1952. He was raised in Highland Park, had a rich life growing up in Highland Park, a different Highland Park than it is today. He was always a trailblazer. He went to UCLA. He was irreverent and progressive and popular as an artist. In the late 60s, he was part of a collective of artists. I've spoken many times about the Chicano artists and the Renaissance that they created in Los Angeles, the muralists, and the other painters, the other poster makers, and that's what he was, a master of making posters. He was, as a friend, a generous man, respectful and kind. I cannot deny that I am very fond of him. He was a very good friend, a dear friend. I first met him at UCLA, and he was a worldly man for a guy from Highland Park. And I think his art took him there. During the late 60s, he was one of those artists who studied Mao so that they could make art for the people, and that people were the guiding force for what he did. His work was iconic, and you will see it throughout the city. You'll see it throughout this town. He did Frida Kahlo. He did Che Guevara. He did Lenin, John. He did wrestlers with a mask. He did stuff much like Andy Warhol, and he was, I guess, an aficionado of Warhol. He would deconstruct something. I saw him just on television the other day talk about. He deconstructed the most simplest of art, of popular art, then filled it in, and then put it back together. And he made it bigger than what it was, because it was bigger than what it was. And he passed away peacefully in his sleep the other morning. He has a studio in my district right on Main as you cross the river. He's a master. I mean, you can look him up on KCT. He's a giant in the art community here in Los Angeles. He was a local boy, but a global man. And his spouse is here. We're joined by Danielle Lasky, his assistant, Natalie Gonzalez, his friends, his partners. As I said, I would spend time with him, and he's just a worldly man, and he's going to be truly missed. Only a young 62, but very contemporary with all his hair and his vest. He always had a vest on, and just very elaborately dressed, part Dolly, part Siqueiros, with his boots. Too much coffee, too many cigarettes, evidently. But a guy who whose life was like the work he did, iconic, and he will be deeply, deeply missed. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo.
Second, this is kind of rough. I spent Monday with my family. I did not come to work. My sister's father-in-law, my brother's father, passed away. Edward Sonny Ramirez. What a man. Born August 26, 1936. Passed away 10/29/2014. Sonny was a Marine, and they say Marines are for life. Once a Marine, always a Marine. This guy was incredible. He was a baseball coach. He loved his kids. He loved his grandkids. He was referred to as Papa. He's typical. Those men of that generation, like my father, who came up through a hard life, very stoic with their kids and very loving with their grandkids. He was a man who loved his wife, he loved his family, he loved his grandkids. He loved baseball, and he coached it in City Terrace. And his family spent much of their life in City Terrace. He passed away, as I said, on the 29th. And I listened to great stories of him. I knew him as kind of a stoic man. And I listened to these great stories from my brother-in-law and his family and his grandkids. And it's amazing. He really promoted service as a Marine. He really believed in our country and the changes that could take place. And I'm very proud of all my nephews. But I'm proud of them because of their commitment to service. One of his sons, three of them are in the sheriff's department. But one of them was a security for the president, both President Bush and President Clinton. So he flew with them and to protect them. And one of his nephews, I'm very proud of, is now a new enrollee at Princeton. They're all focused. They're nurses, or they're in the sheriff's department, or they work all in areas where they provide public service for the community. And so it's a really great legacy for a really great man. And so I ask that we close in the memory of Edward Sonny Ramirez.
Thank you. Now I will look to my right side, Mr. Labange. Mr. Labange, go ahead.
Very tragic. Too young. In my block, in my neighborhood, two of the elders. One, Tom Stewart Strathy, 86 years old, was much loved by his friend Nancy. He kind of kept to himself. He lived to be 86, I believe, because he had to climb about 106 stairs. He lived on the high side of the street in Silver Lake. Esther Tablebond, 92. Up until this last summer, she walked every day and said hello to all my kids, and she walked in the neighborhood all around Silver Lake. She was much loved, and she will be missed. I ask we adjourn to these two great Angelenos who will live a long, full life, and hope that the sorrow of those who went too soon could be relieved. They lived a long life. God bless them.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And I'm still looking to that side. Any other, Mr. Parks?
Yes. I would like to request that we adjourn in memory of Toby Reavers, who passed away at the age of 101. He was born in March 1913 in the state of Mississippi. At the age of 4, he moved to Arkansas with his aunt and 3 siblings. After completing the 8th grade, he attended school. He went back to Mississippi to attend school. Then he began his journey of a lifelong working on the railroad, and later gathered enough money to open the Reavers filling station and grocery store. And then until he got a call to serve his country in World War II, he was always looking for adventure. He jumped for the idea of joining the Army. There he learned new skills of serving as a sergeant for over 3 years. When he was discharged, he went back to Arkansas and married his childhood sweetheart, Bernice Bailey. Toby attended Los Angeles. After their marriage, they later journeyed to Los Angeles, where they settled to make a fresh start. He later attended LA Trade Tech, studying refrigeration repair, electronics, and radio repair. He loved working with his hands and worked in construction part-time. They raised 5 children, which gave them much joy. Several years later, he opened the T&B barbecue restaurant. This had been a main course at every family dinner since then. He retired from working full-time at North American Rockwell in 1978, choosing to look after his family and work at home. After his retirement, he did not actually work, but he actually was retired longer than he actually worked. He was preceded to death by his wife and is survived by many family members. His funeral will be this coming Saturday, November the 15th, 11 a.m. at Heavenly Vision Church.
Any more adjourning motions? Seeing none, members have safe travels. This council meeting is adjourned.